And hanging out in Kumo's server with In-Law is the latest false accusation supreme himself, Akumu.
Okay, I'm very curious on what these false accusations are, Lio. I'm very curious.
Get into him later. You know who else is in In-Law's server? Conundrum. Nice company he keeps. What, did you think we wouldn't know? One of the longtime members of that server came to us the moment these freaks started joining to tell us what's going on. These people care so little about victims of predation that they'll release a call some fool gave them that he had no permission to do, completely disregarding the victim's wishes. Because they care so very much about what's right. Now, let me address the Akumu comment. I'm not going to deny that Akumu was done wrong in the past by ArtCC people. If he wants to address that, he can. Specifically some comments made to him by Miss Zizi. However, I draw the line at lying.
You draw the line at lying. Okay. Alright, let's keep that in mind. He draws the line at lying.
There's a reason he's not going to release the FCK logs until after the video drops. It gives him control of the narrative. We, however, had a longtime server member give us access to the logs that Akumu will not release.
Okay, so these DMs are from his Lio Man 2 account, which he has now completely deleted. The story behind this that Lio isn't going to tell you, but you know what, actually, before I get into that, I'm going to let him finish. I don't want him to say that I'm cutting anything out, or his audience. They're stupid fucking idiots.
Logs I asked him for months ago, by the way, that he refused to give.
Refused to give is a load of fucking horseshit. Refused to give, he says. The original plan was to invite him on an alt account. He wanted to have an alt account that wasn't exactly like his account so that he could come in there and they wouldn't, massively start purging everything. Problem is, the alt account that he was on, clearly LioMan2, is literally his fucking Twitter handle. His whole thing is LioManBad. So that kind of defeats the whole point. On top of the fact that he's been ghosting me since October of 2023. I messaged him October of 2023 and I said, I can invite you when you're back and show it to you. This is literally me talking about the FCK server and inviting him there in October of 2023. He did not respond to me. The next time I messaged him was November, a month later. This was after I was removed from Senate and I got no reply and then he unadded me. So really, I was withholding it from you, but the entire time I was trying to invite you there so that you could also talk about it. But okay, sure, we're gonna run with that.
Not only to me, but to other adults who asked. Now, I know some of my audience are minors.
What other adults who asked? Because I literally have invited people in there. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Which is why I'm not going to release the logs here because there's porn in there. He's going to try to use cherry-picked examples to try to frame it as Peaches being okay with degeneracy being shown to kids. So here's the most troublesome stuff that happened in there concerning Peaches.
Okay,
here we have Peaches making a joke about the KKK. This is not a joke specifically making fun of a race, just a throwaway joke about the group itself. Literally just milquetoast dark humor. Okay. It's also of note that this was 4 years ago. All of this was. Here we see Peaches responding to Fuchsia Butters and Miss Zizi spamming porn in the server.
You all use shit older than 4 years on people. See, here's the thing that Lio is flip-floppity on constantly. And so is the entire art commentary community, which is why it's no surprise they're rallying behind him. They constantly flip-flop on when things can be brought up. When they want to talk about old shit against people, they will gladly do so. We've seen it with Heaton, who took issue with me talking about the shit about Nezzy Monster, yet made a video on Foxton's video that was old, and also made a video on Junkie talking about shit from 2018. These people flip-flop on when shit can and can't be talked about. They contradict their own standards. But okay, sure, let's keep going though, Lio.
Server, wherein Peaches made a joke about it. Now, there's some context here that needs to be highlighted,
yeah, what's the
and that's the fact that Peaches was groomed for 7 years. Even at the time...
What the fuck does that have to do with the FCK server? Are you saying the person who groomed her was in the FCK server?
Time this all happened, they were still being manipulated by said groomer. So even if Peaches was 100% aware that there were kids in the server,
what does this have to do with the
personally
FCK
I doubt, this is something Peaches had normalized by their groomer. Peaches didn't even know any of what that creep was doing was suspicious until Cosmodor got called out later that year. That being said, this isn't something they've repeated and have also disavowed. I think I've made it clear that I'm always going to keep nuance in mind when dealing with stuff like this. If it was Peaches sending porn to children, or speaking to them sexually like Nix and Jackie, we'd be having a different conversation. But that's not what happened. And also of note that people like Akumu surrounds himself are constantly trying to deny that Peaches was groomed. Not only
I have talked with Gilded in a VC maybe twice. You have talked with Gilded more than I have. But because I'm in a server that he's also in, I surround myself with him. Should we talk about the people you surround yourself with, the shit you get up to? Because I can gladly talk about that. If you want to really talk about that and you want to play guilty by association, we can. But I don't want to because it's really fucking cringy.
Not only is this gross and reprehensible, but it's also just an outright lie. I've seen the logs. Here are some now. Here's one where her groomer talks about how not a pedo he is and how he has to word himself in a certain way because Big Brother is watching.
This has
along with noting the
me.
clear age gap. I'm not going to show the rest. I don't need to. I think I've made my point.
You've lied. You've lied. You said that you didn't like lying, and then you lied because you left out the fact that in October I tried to invite you, but you were ghosting me. On top of the fact that you're not noting why I was a little suspicious of you. Which I wonder why, because you're admitting that you've had the logs for months, but you've not made a single video talking about it, yet you care about accountability, and yet if you've had the logs for months, you, by the way, your adopted daughter Peaches, right? You've had these logs for months. Lio, please explain to me then why Peaches released her little thread taking accountability a day before my video.
What I find interesting, though, is no one looked into fuchsia butters until all of this came out. The third party to scan through these logs literally just hopped into her server and find all sorts of garbage in under 5 minutes, which is a problem since there's minors in that server and no regulation about what's posted around them by Fuchsia herself.
Okay, yeah, I've talked. What do you mean no one looked into Fuchsia? I looked into Fuchsia. This is old fucking news. What are you talking about? You're really moving the conversation from the FCK server to Fuchsia Butter. To one individual, which I've already talked about in my series, that no one else in the art commentary community has talked about. You're that fucking disingenuous to move the subject from the FCK server to Fuchsia Butters, when I've already talked about Fuchsia Butters. I've made an episode on it, so what do you mean no one looked into Fuchsia Butters? You're fucking lying.
Because Akumu is more interested in smearing someone than properly dealing with actual guilty parties.
Really, Lio. Really, Lyle. So why are you leaving out the fact that I made a video on Fuchsia already? Why are you leaving that out? I already made the video on Fuchsia. Perhaps because you know that your audience is so fucking stupid that they can't think for themselves. They're not going to question what the fuck you're saying.
Toasty Vanilla was the person in charge of that server and gave no rules or safeguards to protect children in that server. I'd love to see accountability directed towards him, please.
Toasty Vanilla was 18. Peaches was older than he was. ZZ was older than he was. Nezzy Monster was older than he was. Yes, he made the server. Yes, he participated in it. But you and Peaches love to use age on other people to talk about how they should know better because they're older. Yet now you're completely contradicting that and saying that only Toasty should be blamed? Really? Really, Lio? Fucking really? Okay. Alright, bud.
And Fuchsia? You and I are going to need to have a conversation. You'll know where to find me.
Don't pretend like this is something you're going to handle now. I've been talking about this long before you came up to talk about the Fuchsia Butter shit, just to distract from the FCK server. I was talking about this in 2020, when the art commentary community told me I was a liar. Please tell me what false accusations are in my video, because you haven't actually said anything about the false accusations either.
But a single example may not be enough to convince people of Akumu's smearing attempts being an obvious ploy. So here's another one. Akumu has been regularly spreading an RP Susie did when they were a couple of months past 18. An RP Susie herself did not make sexual, but the other party did. In doing her research to properly address this yet again, Susie delved into her old logs, and found out she had been groomed.
The problem with this is, and Lio no doubt knows the fucking problem. If he's watched Doodletone's video, he knows the exact problem with this. No one's questioning or denying or even making fun of Susie for having been groomed. But that's the direction they're going with this to shield criticism for the degen roleplay. Doodletones was drawing age regression in diaper shitting art in 2013. They did not meet their groomer, Alex, until the 22nd of November in 2014. So they were already a degenerate before the grooming took place. The roleplay with the character that's described as physically 8 years old was not with their groomer Alex. It was with Kirby. Doodletones has continuously lied and said that they were made uncomfortable by this roleplay, but they returned on an alt account to continue it. Nothing about that is smearing. All of that is true. It would be smearing if the roleplay didn't happen and I photoshopped it. I didn't. It would be smearing if I lied about any of the details I just gave you, but I didn't. You can go watch Susie's video down below.
I was there. I saw how she responded to it in real time. It's an awful thing to discover, but it explains some of her more troublesome thought processes and interests for several years. Akumu's response to that level of honesty is to claim she's using her being groomed as a shield and that she's just trying to paint anyone that questions her as a victim blamer. If you sat through that whole video and came to that conclusion, you're just a dishonest moron.
Dishonest moron. Here's the clips from Susie's video, literally stating the same things that I just went over.
It's when I had hit my teen years that things really started to go downhill, as that's when I joined DeviantArt and started posting there. Apparently, I was really into the 4chan rules of the internet at the time because my first upload was of what I had deemed a simple Rule 63 of myself. Truly, I showed no signs of being trans, no siree. Joking aside, I have no idea where I met the rules of the internet, or even the specific one in question, but I recalled that I had them saved on my school iPad at the time, so that's what got me to draw the first iteration of my Sona, posted November 12th, 2011. So what I would have been 14 years of age if I'm doing my math right. By 2012, I would post a few things worth of note on DeviantArt. Apparently by this point, I was using a social chatting service known as Chatango, a place where anyone could contact you if they wanted to just by scrolling through an extensive user list. Here, I know I was definitely sent my first dick pic, as that was something that spooked me so much that I wrote a song about it, and the extra porn bot accounts that would send me links to cam sites for Music Shake. As questionable as these lyrics are, the general event absolutely did happen. I also had confirmed myself as getting a Skype by this point, where I would talk to some of my longest friends that I met through a live-streaming Minecraft place called Ghost in the Stream. Now, mind you, Ghost in the Stream itself used Chatango for its chatbot, so that doubly helps in the doodle was not where she was supposed to be idea. I had also confirmed that I was a user on a social game known as Imvu, which, if you know what that is, there's not really much of a reason to explain the problems there. Definitely shouldn't be on there when you're less than 18. There was also a particularly interesting jump between two images, being the first of two dare images that I would make, and the 9th page of a comic that I was creating at the time, where we had a character physically and mentally age regress to bypass weirdness in the setting, but only to create more weirdness in real life for me, though one could make the argument in favor of this just being unfortunate implications. However, the implications are still unfortunate. Recall that by this point, though, I would have been 15, if my math is correct. Moving on into age 16, I created the Transformation World comic, one where much of the irresponsible and gross things started popping up. Specifically, ABDL themes, because gender swapping was like always a thing that I was aware of, but I did not realize I was doing anything wrong. Because going even further than that, you might also have the very real argument of Doodle was groomed into it. And for like a decade, I didn't even realize that I might have been until going through my old Skype logs earlier this month. I don't know where this person is at now, so I suppose this is just for peace of mind at this point and to help contextualize things a bit better, but the same year that I got super into erotic roleplay, I met this person called White Clouds 1988, also known as Alex. We used to chat a lot with each other, and when I say chat a lot, I mean we chatted a lot. We met November 22nd, 2014, so remember I was still 17 at this time.
Now, there are things that will probably need to be addressed as well at a later date. For now, though, I have other things I need to do. I'm not obligated to defend myself at the behest of others. I will do so when I please. And
You're not defending yourself. You're defending other people. And doing a bad job at it.
as such, I've got work to do. Thank you all for your time and watching this very long video. Please give Susie your support and let me know what you think about the model. If you like my content, feel free to join the channel members or support me on Patreon. You're also welcome to join the server.
This is nothing but damage control. I knew you were going to use the thing with doodle tones, which is fine. I knew you were going to. You're fucking desperate for anything. It's alright, I get it. Doodle's degeneracy came before the grooming. By Susie's own fucking timeline admitted in the video, they didn't meet their groomer until 2014, November 2014. They were already doing age regression and diaper shitting artwork in 2013. So saying that they were groomed when people dared to talk about the roleplay, which wasn't with the groomer, was with a completely different individual, and when people talk about the diaper shitting kink in the age regression and diaper shitting came before the grooming happened. So that doesn't work, Lio. I know you wish that it did, but it doesn't. So to explain something to you, Lio, simply stating that something is dishonest without explaining how does not make it so. Simply saying that something is smearing someone without explaining how does not make it so, and you did not explain how. The roleplay that I've been spreading around, simply just talking about it on my fucking Twitter account, with Kirby was not faked. It literally happened, nothing about it was photoshopped. You can use the Doodle Tones excuse of, well, I didn't make it sexual, but Doodle Tones was perfectly fine with it going in the sexual direction. They claim to have been made uncomfortable, but if Doodles was really, truly uncomfortable, please explain to me, Lio, why Doodles would return on an alt account to continue the roleplay. Surely you have a great excuse for that. None of this is smearing. Stating a fact and you not liking the fact being brought up is not smearing. For a quick comparison, imagine someone brings up the timeline mistake that I made in my Madame video that Ponder Sprocket and Nezzy Monster pointed out. And then I said, quit smearing me. That's not smearing because it's something I actually did do. Now, dishonesty. I find it fucking hilarious that you accuse me of being dishonest, yet you don't actually explain where I'm being dishonest. Someone bringing something up that you don't like is not inherently dishonest. I know that you're used to just saying that it is. That's the best way for you to just dismiss it so that your audience doesn't really pay it any mind. But that's not how things work. Peaches did know that there were minors in there. At the very least, she was aware of Slimmers being in there. She knew of Slimmers' age. Her being groomed has nothing to do with the FCK server. But we can entertain that silly argument for a second. If Peaches now looks back on it, wants to take accountability, why is it she waited months to do so? Because you admitted to Laka that you've had these logs for months. The second you got these logs, she could have made her Twitter thread, but she didn't. And you didn't have her do that. You waited until a day before my video. Why? Because it's a fucking load of shit. And you know it's a load of horse shit that you're feeding your audience. And this isn't the first time you've lied about something small, but don't worry, I'll be exploring that next.